Hey, everybody, welcome to the Manufacturing Know-How Podcast. I'm Don Rehrig, CEO of Rain Engineering, and with me today is Chris Carlins from Rain Engineering. Good morning, Christopher.
Good morning.
Hey, today I wanted to talk about this TPG acquisition of Proficy from GE Vernova. Big news happened. The announcement happened back in September of 25, and I just want to talk about the potential impact on the industry and on us, on our business. And so if we just want to chat a little bit about that. What do you think about that big news, Chris?
When I think of TPG saying, let's go ahead with this software, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's a big vouch of confidence, right? Anybody can say something's good, but they literally put in their money where their mouth is and stake and claim that this is the right move to make.
Yeah, when I posted this article originally, I did not even know that weeks later in November, this was in September, and I guess in October, they made an announcement that they spent another $600 million in that same TPG organization to acquire PTC's ThingWorx and Kepware products, which are both staples in the industry too. That small group inside of big GE Vernova, big GE before that, is now its own entity with the financial backing to make a significant investment. And man, does this mean great things for manufacturers, I think.
TPG obviously is showing that they see real opportunity to combine and make a powerhouse greater than the sum of its parts. And looking forward to seeing what else they have in store and being a part of it. So it really does show that not only was there that momentum going forward, but they're grabbing that baton and running with it. It really is an exciting time. And I'll finish by saying you were talking about whiplash, right? We've been there. We're like, oh, is this going to be the one? Is this where it finally breaks out? And all signs point to the fact that we're about to just exit the planet and go up into orbit. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, super cool. From a business perspective, the Proficy suite, the Proficy sales team, the 600 or whatever employees that are coming with this acquisition have been a part of this bigger GE thing where, it was a publicly traded company. And frankly, the Proficy business inside of GE has always been a rounding error in terms of revenues and whatever, but this becomes a focal point. Let's talk about the customers. Let's talk about the users, the people who already own Proficy and what this could mean to them. I mean, I think now is a really good time for customers to do honest Proficy Health Check. What versions are they on? What is their current architecture? You talk a little bit about the legacy platforms the legacy versions and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And how transitioning to some of the latest and greatest in the developments that Proficy's made over the last few years can help as manufacturers start to look a little bit more at the health of the system they have already.
Yeah, my point is we're going, even with what GE has already done and what TPG is picking up on, is building off of that foundational platform that's already there and modernizing it. So we could talk more about cloud, how they're even having their own SaaS offering and building out those REST API calls I was talking about so that people can securely get at their information. So we can have those flashy screens. They're making ones that come out of the box. Rain Engineering is creating widgets that can quickly be plugged in for different sub-industries. So look out for those. So we are making it modern and we're bringing it to the forefront of the latest technologies. And that will be hard for any new company to keep up with because you can build the flashy front end, but what about that powerful back end that took decades to perfect and prove in the industry that's going to be global and around for a while? What about all of those companies that are currently using Proficy? Well, you're not getting left behind. One thing you should know is that by this point, every time the software makes a turn, they always think of their existing customers. How do we keep you moving forward? And not just from a compatibility standpoint, but making sure that the operators can make that transition from one thing to the next. So for example, the traditional autolog screen that you might grow and know and love, modernizing it to the latest web version, but also rethinking it in the form of a task list with activities instead of just a set of data to look at, right? So a lot of things are there and being brought forward. They're definitely making sure that's brought forward. You asked about how do we make sure that we can help those customers move forward. The first step on that is a health check, whether it's with Rain Engineering or somebody else. The first step in knowing how to help really bring you forward is to understand the system that you have and the system that you'd like to have, making sure that it's stable. Do we have to worry about
Wait a minute. There's other people? I thought Rain Engineering was the only one.
I have to at least assume that. Well, one of the things that we really try to do is make sure that Proficy has a great ecosystem. And if this might be a good time for you to talk to just some of the things that you've done to really say, how do we make a strong integration community so that everybody within the TPG umbrella can grow? And really the competitors are the other vendors out there with their other technologies and attempts, right? That's important too.
Yeah, a strong ecosystem is important. The more prophecy that's out there resolving issues for manufacturers, the more instances of prophecy that's out there, the more investment that TPG will want to make in the product and getting even more customers and retaining the ones they have. I want to shift our focus, Chris, to the customers because the users of prophecy are the ones that matter the most. And there are prophecy implementations out there that have been world class for years, and there are some that miss the mark a little bit. What a terrific time for companies that maybe aren't getting exactly what they want from their MES to reevaluate, to do a health check, figure out where they are, and align that to their goals so that we can help them take it to the next step and really get the return on investment that everyone should get out of their MES.
Yeah, there certainly have been, a globe of people who've been using Prophecy for a decade or more. And a lot of them have stagnated. They got a certain amount out of their software and they've hit a ceiling as far as what they could do when the software was available at the time. Others, they wanted to do a lot more and they just didn't see the features and functionality in there that they needed. This is a great time to reassess, right? Take a relook at what your MES is when it comes to Prophecy, understand what's available, go around, ask people what is that they're looking for. Just as that quick advertisement, Prophecy has so much functionality installed into one database, efficiency, all these different quality measurements and alarms and recipe management, track and trace, production scheduling day of to make sure you stay on track. Even discrete, you can find times when work orders and instructions will be helpful. In addition to other features like just clean and spec lube, autonomous maintenance, sub themes, checklists. There's a lot of side benefits you can get from it too. Energy management. Like I said, it's a software platform that's very flexible. First thing we need to do is that health check. The health check can come in a couple of different ways, right? I was just talking about that assessment of talking to your people, looking at your processes and reinventing things, realizing that you can build flexible user interfaces that meet people where they're at. But then there's the health check of the technical side as well. A lot of these systems have been put in place and have been around for a while. There's a lot of errors in the log files. People complain about being slow. And honestly, sometimes Prophecy needs a little PR uptick on the manufacturing floor too, right? So understanding what kind of problems they're having. And, here in engineering, one thing we like to do is inherit those problems and polish them up and turn them into great performing systems again.
You talked about the health check, the part of the health check that is being on the floor with people who are doing work and figuring out how that work is best done. What is the process they go through every day? What are the steps that they're taking to complete their work? Like, I move from here to here, I push this button, I do that. I need to look at this data or this work instruction, and really understanding, does the MES facilitate that or obstruct that? And as you do that evaluation, along with the technical evaluations that you talked about around architectures and integrations and data quality and adoption. But what I want to see from a customer at the end of our health check is a one-page description of where profit is leaking because they can't trust their MES. Either they can't trust the people to use them or they can't trust the MES data quality. And if you did that as a health check and said, all right, what is the next step? Align that to your goals and go, what is the next step and where do we go from here? The conversation we had with a customer yesterday was that very conversation. In fact, it took me a while to get on board with the direction they were going. They have a MES implementation. They have a Prophecy implementation. They know they're getting some value from it, but they know they could do better with it too. And just really getting to that one pager would be great. And then the next step after having a great health check really is understanding the alignment between the goals and the roadmap. Like, how do we get from where we are to where we're going? And, for instance, where do you start with the technology?
It's funny because when people haven't had a chance to see the latest and greatest, they think, oh, tell me all the new things that are in Prophecy. And a lot of the times we've done these workshops and we find out a lot of the use cases when you get the leadership in a room. are things that Proficy could have been doing for a decade, right? I mean, the underlying functionality has always been there. Really, the headliner new is the fact that with Operations Hub and the modern user interface, we're able to get the information to the people who need it when they need to see it a lot easier. We have an amazing opportunity here to do it correctly. But a lot of that functionality that they need has been in there for a long time. And my point in saying that is, along with the health assessment, then the next part is, like you're saying about doing those use cases and saying, what are the things that we need out of an MES now? Chances are Proficy can do it. And it's about uncovering that. The questions will answer themselves once you get the right people in a room.
Yeah, quick technical wins. If we can show a clear impact in 90 days with a quick technical win, leadership will back a bigger MES play, a bigger investment in the way that they use the tools, right?
And you already have the investment, the servers are there, the technology is implemented. All you need to do is unlock those functionality components with some quick projects and you're up and running. And this might be a right time to talk about the fact that we do provide different ROI calculators.
Chris, let's shift the focus to how we think existing Proficy customers should take advantage of this TPG acquisition and really leverage the change to make changes inside their own plant. There's 3 moves I think every plant should make. They should do a Proficy Health Check and see where they're at. Are they getting what they expect to get out of their systems? Is it performing the way they want it to? Do a quick fixes. So if there's a data integrity problem or if there's some feature that they need to sharpen a little bit to build excitement and momentum in the plant, they should do quick MES fixes. And then the third thing they should do is build a 12-month roadmap that really talks about leveraging the latest and greatest advantages of Proficy. I wonder what you think about move 1 and doing that honest Proficy assessment.
Yeah, the first step in getting to somewhere else is to assess where you're at right now. And from a technical perspective, we're looking at a few different perspectives. When we do an assessment, we can come on site. It's low profile as far as affecting people at your site. We're looking at things like what version of the software you're on, what architecture you have in place. That includes things that are key to the Proficy core. But then it's also things like what boundary systems there are, what type of ERP do you have set up, what kind of transactions are you putting back and forth, and what technologies are you using to make those communications happen, right? So what we want to do is make sure that whenever we're assessing where you're at now, we can really get into the idea and the next step of fixing things, starting off by saying, if we had better capture of downtime data rather than using so much manual data, or the ability for the system right now to predict when a machine is up and running accurately is actually off. Let's accomplish those type of things in this first step so that we can move on to adoption after that.
And adoption is such an important part of it. And sometimes it's because the users don't feel like they can trust the data quality, but also during that health check, we want to live a little bit on the floor with the operators, understand, how do they do their work? Do they interact with MES? Does that interaction act more as an obstruction than a facilitator or an enabler? MES should be an enabler for operators to do a better work, rather than an obstruction that they feel like is a big brother or whatever. But it's such an important part of adoption is just really, before you start your first MES project, you should really understand how people do the work that they do on the floor and design the tools to be an enabler. So part of that health check is, hey, how does that fit today? And you look at operators and supervisors' work and see how it's aligned. But then really the next thing is to understand where, from a business perspective, where is profit leaking because we can't trust our MES, or we can't trust our operators to use the MES because of data quality or all the reasons we have already mentioned. And then for the next move we think plants should make is really move very quickly to some fixes that will help us move directionally toward better use of MES, but then what are some examples of how to do some quick fixes to people who are already using Proficy?
Yeah, sure. When we show up at a site, either virtually or in person, we'd like to come as people of peace, right? So if people are, first of all, if their systems are slow, and we see that in systems that have been around for a while, they might not have gotten the TLC that they need. One of the quick fixes is what can we do to just make the system move a little bit faster? Or what are a couple of things that we can take off of people's plates? And MES is very much cherished when it can help people do their job better And it's very much not liked when it's asking people to just dump a bunch of data while they're trying to do their job into the system, feeding this system that doesn't actually give them any benefit back. So what are those small wins that we can do on that journey to just have people say, okay, maybe things are turning around? One of the examples, I guess, I'll throw out there, continuing with the idea of downtime, would be either they're already entering a lot of information. Maybe the machine is able to know when it starts and stops, but they have to put down all the different reasons why the machine is down. What if we were to take a look a little bit more of that data and see what else can we do? What other sensors could we even put in place to take that burden off of them? And rather than having to feed a system, the other part of that is provide them information back. Is there a little bit more of a Pareto chart we could provide to them? Is there an alarm that we could provide to them? Is there a time when it would be important for maintenance to come over, right? So those are those quick wins of a system that's already in place, small little things that can make a big difference.
Yeah, and if we can't make an impact to an MES system in 90 days and really improve the return on investment, then leadership won't buy into a 12-month plan anyway. So we think that move 3 is really develop that 12-month roadmap. After you've had an honest evaluation of where you're at with Proficy and you've made some quick fixes and maybe increased data accuracy or increased the automation of data, the users feel like the downtime data is more helpful to them or that the OE data is more accurate, it accurately reflects their day's work. Those things happening very quickly increase the swell of pride and the usability of the tool around the tool. And then you can start making future plans. What does the 12-month roadmap look like?
Yeah, you give people a little room to breathe and realize that there's a couple of new features available. And you also get leadership in a room together. But it's interesting what can happen just by getting everybody into a room. When we facilitate conversations like that, we ask very pointed questions and we try to drive out the right answers. And it's interesting how you can ask a question and then sit back for 5 minutes as everybody is discussing where to go from here. And sometimes it could even be things that don't have to do just with your MES. It's looking at your entire technology stack again. Hey, we have 7 disparate systems because when the last person was in here, they really like this other software specifically for fill in the blank, right? And let's take that step back and let's try to consolidate down things to a key set of components. Let's look at the type of legacy systems we have in place. And then let's also look at some of the new features and functionality. Again, like I said before, there's a lot packed into Proficy that people aren't using already. So let's take a look at the underlying system. But then let's also talk about the idea of visualization. There's a lot more opportunity to get the type of screen to the operator, to the supervisor, to the maintenance person, to the scheduler that they could really benefit from. And that's going to be mapped out in this 12-month journey using things like ROI calculators and other methodologies to make it clear for everybody that we have a clear path forward and there's a reason why we're doing this.
Yeah, clearly frame that roadmap in terms of profit, risk, competitiveness. With, for instance, one of the things that keeps coming up though is the need for technology as a attractive feature and function for new employees. The next generation of employees are used to working with a smartphone, and they're working at work with a system that looks like Windows 95, and they don't even know what Windows 95 is. And so having access to technology and a user experience that makes it exciting, not really exciting, really just more usable, more user-friendly for the operators and supervisors and that sort of thing, I think has become more important than ever. So the 3 quick moves: move 1, do an honest Proficy health check. 2, make some quick fixes and really get some alignment to the value of Proficy in your plant. And then move 3, build that 12-month roadmap and go after things that can help you be more profitable, more competitive, more appealing to employees, that sort of thing. And that's, I think, the big takeaway for this episode.
Move 0 is find a trustworthy partner that you can go through this process with.
Yeah, if you'd like to talk through Rain Engineering's methodologies for helping Proficy customers, it's been our focus since 2019. It's all we do. All we do is Proficy work. And we've rescued a lot of clients who were using Proficy and who were thinking about making a change, who really just made a little bit more of an investment on the usability of the system and the data accuracy of the system, and it became a tool to enable them to do better.
Having a conversation with us is not a commitment to us either. We share what we know. If there's something we can do to just get you going in the right direction and we find you later down on the path, that's great. Yeah, give us a call. We'll share little bit more about this process with you, answer your questions, and I wish you the best either way.
Yep, there's a link in the feed below on YouTube here, but also if you visit raineng.com on any one of our pages, you can find the little calendar or the little phone, and you can start a conversation right away. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining the Manufacturing Know-How Podcast today. I'm Don Rehrig, and I'm joined by Chris Carlins, and we look forward to the next episode.
Thank you.